people to learn about whether or not I photographed and about grooming and makeup and all that. And
you learned very well.
I had.
She certainly does.
Thank you. And then I had a series of auditions at NBC. I grew up in New York, so that was
That's
handy.
where you're actually from? New York?
Yeah. And they had what they called a dramatic staff on radio at NBC, and after many, many, many auditions, I finally got word that I had survived them all and was now on their dramatic staff available for casting. And it was such a frustration to have to call them up and say, thank you, and I hope, well, maybe I'll be back, but I'm off to California. So I never did get to do any broadcasting on the dramatic staff for NBC, but that's sound, camera, and acting. There were just 3 separate studies.
But your first film, you were with Lana Turner. You did a movie with Lana. What was that?
It was Lana's very first lead.
It was Lana's first lead?
Yeah.
What was that movie?
It was a very good picture.
It was called The Glamour Girls.
These Glamour Girls.
Those?
These. It was actually, I think, set in Princeton College. They called it Kingston, not Princeton. But it was about an Ivy League college weekend house party. Still in the tail end of the Depression, with all these dewy-eyed young debutantes of fine family and ruined fortunes, looking for a suitable mate, and all of them husband shopping at the house party. And Lana was the exception. She was from a dance hall, and getting her discomfort in the midst of these sometimes snobbish girls was the main theme. Lew Ayres, Richard Carlson, let's see, Lana, Anne Rutherford, Anita Louise.
Oh, God, what a
there
cast.
Were about 12 of us, 6 and 6. I committed suicide in that, and it started a whole good career for me of really meaty acting parts. So I was very grateful to these Glamour Girls.
How many pictures have you done, Rosemary?
Rosemary
DeCamp, every time I turn on the tube, I mean, I see the movies. You've done many.
45 years, you know.
45 years?
An awful lot of television and series and one-shots.
Dr. Christian, let's first...
I was very lucky in the early films. Martha Scott got me into Cheers for Miss Bishop. I was 30 then. I was a professor in college before I ever got a paying job.
But you're always playing the mothers, the beautiful
mothers. I know, but
mothers,
you see, it was because I was so long in the tooth at that point.
At 30.
At 30, playing the mothers.
Well, I started out with no hopes of, you know, there was no dream of Juliet. I played Mercutio in college and Clytemnestra, but there was no Juliet.
It's a great part, Mercutio.
Yeah. And,
You did Ronald Reagan. You did 2 movies with Ronald?
Yes, I did. This is the Army. I was George Murphy's wife and Ronnie's mother.
And Ronald Reagan's mother.
We are 6 months apart in age, and I'm a little older, 6 months older. But then one of them was he had epilepsy, and you couldn't even say seizure or anything then, so the picture sort of died because nobody can understand why Ronald was having little fits and things. They had forgotten to read the novel before they bought it.
You know, my favorite movie Ronald Reagan ever did was King's Road.
Oh yes, yes. I think that was splendid.
That was a good one.
A great movie.
With
Betty Fields.
If you lose one of your members, I think it makes an impression. That will stay in people's minds. No.
Rosemary DeCamp, tell me about the radio days.
Oh, the radio
Hollywood days.
Oh, well,
I mean, those are the days when you started in Hollywood on
Well, I
Dr.
started
Christian.
in New York. My first job in New York was Easy Aces with Goodman Ace. And I had a boyfriend who was an engineer, and he took me, and then Goodman was so marvelous, so funny, you know. I thought Easy Aces was a bridge show, you know, not realizing his wit or having read his works, but they were darling to me, and from then on I went on and did a lot of shows. I worked with Orson and, you know, all those.
Orson Welles.
Yeah, I think I did, now WOR, The Shadow.
Oh, yes.
And,
You did The
so
Shadow.
I ran around, we did funnies on Saturday morning with Agnes Moorehead, and we'd get $15 for doing the funnies. It was great. It was like going to the gym. You could play all kinds of parts, you know.
And very broadly.
Yeah,
And very broadly.
No director to tell you to tone it down, you know. So, and then I came back out here and started in Dr. Christian, which was...
With Lionel Barrymore.
With,
Was it? No?
Jean Hershow.
Jean Hershow, I'm sorry.
And 17 years and 4 children and marriage and so in that 17 years. rather full, but I also was doing television and films at the same time, which made it difficult running off. Always had to do a show. At 3 o'clock, we had to do two, one for the East and one for the West then. And
that's right.
so I was always in the movie, you know, crying over my son who was doing something on the stage. And the assistant director, of course, loathed that kind of thing because they had to pull you out. And I was usually pregnant and I was sick and had to get over the hill to do the show at 3 o'clock. Enough of radio.
Tell me, James Craig, do you still see him? Yeah, all those great movies you've done with him.
James has left us.
He did? Oh, did he? I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
I think in the last 2 or 3 years.
Has he? Oh, I see.
Yeah. I haven't seen him for many years. Yeah.
Margaret O'Brien, tell me about her.
I do see Margaret.
You do see Margaret?
Oh. She's a lovely woman.
Yeah. How many films have you done with Margaret?
I did 2 with her.
2.
And I thought she was an enchanted child. She had as pure an instinct, I think, as a child actress as I've ever seen.
Do we have that today? Now, I want to ask you that. Do you think we have a child actress out there like Marsha Hunt?
I think there probably are a number of them. Kids are awfully gifted. We need to find the ones with that gift, but I think they're all over the place. I see such good performances on television. There's tremendous turnover.
Are you happy what's happening today of our business, of show business?
Wretched. I'm wretched. I'm in mourning.
Oh, there are some good ones made.
Oh, of course.
There are a few.
But the material,
You pick 2 or 3 a year. You can.
That's about it.
Yeah.
But the material, don't you think that's important?
It's all important. I'm a writer's wife.
That's right. You were married to a writer.
I still am. It'll be 40 years in another 10 days.
That's right. Your husband is a script writer.
Yes.
And his name was?
Still is.
Yes, sorry.
Robert Presnell,
Robert,
Jr.
Is he still writing?
Oh, yes, I see his name on
You do?
Yeah.
Good.
You do?
Marvelous.
What things has he done lately?
Mostly feature films and television, movies for television. He did a few series scripts, but they're so prescribed. They have to be so in the formula of a series that it was much freer work to do the movies, which are longer. You know, the 2-hour things give you a much better chance to develop.
27 minutes, you can't tell much.
That's right, yeah.
The Bob Cummings Show. Tell me about the Bob Cummings Show.
Oh, that was great. We had so much fun.
Did you? How many years were you on the Bob Cummings Show?
Oh, 5.
5 years?
5
He's my first leading man.
Was he?
Was he?
Really?
Bob Cummings was.
I did 3 with him at Paramount.
Wow, you're not
But
that old.
Oh, at least, at least. Tell about the show.
Yes.
Well, you know, great director. When he finally got around to the fact that he got rid of the other directors and directed and played the star himself, you know, there was one camera for Bob, and there was a longer camera for the rest of us, and then sometimes there'd be an insert. And we had a cameraman who, the show finally killed him. He was whipping those crews around like whips, you know. And but it was marvelous fun and great people. Last we were still laughing at the jokes and we did it. And Bob had a marvelous way of using the time for lighting. You know, that's what kills you in pictures, is waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting,
He always had 3 rehearsals going. There was the white one, and then there was the pink one, and then there was the one for blood. And those 3 had to take place before they ever cranked the film, because they want to save it. This is economical, this show.
Of course.
And save the film. And when we went in there, the takes were all, look, yeah, you know, everybody knew just what they were doing.
Very good.
But we were still laughing. They were wonderful scripts. Paul Henning wrote the scripts.
I see.
And I think...
Gordon McRae. Tell me about... I love that movie, Silver Lining.
Silver Lining, there were 2 of those. Were Penrod stories, you know.
There were 2 of them, yes.
2 of them.
By the Silvery Moon?
So, yes.
Yes, I love that. This is one.
Darling boy. Gordon was
McRae.
so dear.
We just lost him, and this is the movie. I love that movie.
I don't know if that's
June
the
Haver.
one.
Yes.
No, that's Gene Haver.
June Haver with By the Silvery
I
Light.
don't think Gordy was in that one. I think it was...
yes, Gordon
was in
McRae
that.
was in this.
Was he?
Yes, definitely. There he is.
Where is he? Those
There
are the
he
twins.
is. There is
No,
Gordon
that's...
McRae. Gordon
Well,
McRae is
looks
in
like...
this. Here we are. There we
go.
There's Gordon McRae right there.
And Mary Wicks, marvelous. And Doris Day. I
Doris
still
Day.
get letters from her. Her show's on cable somewhere.
She has a talk
It's
show
wonderful-
now, and she's
really?
doing very well. Yes.
Animals.
good.
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs talk, I love it.
Darling woman.
She
Great
is.
affirmative person.
She must be. I've
know,
never met her, no.
her,
But I
her-
love her work.
She, before a scene, she'd go into, she'd get out the Mary Baker Eddie book, and work herself into the scene, but she had to have that 5, maybe 3 minutes to herself. And that was part of her life, her sparkle. That's part of her health.
Rosemary, is this you and Johnny Garfield?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah.
That you, can we get that close? Johnny
I
Garfield.
was
Where is this,
crazy
in the
about
commissary
Johnny.
at the
We did
school?
a thing called Pride of the Marines.
Pride of the Marines.
Yes,
That was a great movie.
But I love Johnny.
Yes.
He
What
was,
kind of guy was he, really?
He was wonderful. I never will forget the day down at San Diego when he, this is 44, when the, we weren't doing too well, you know, in the Pacific. And the men were coming in without eyes, without legs and arms, and he was tied. He was supposed to be blind. You know, he says, I'm a fake. I'm just a fake, and they're all bleeding, and they've lost their legs, and what do they think of me? It really tore him up. But he was awfully good in the part.
Marsha Hunt has a thing you always, you know, I've known it every time I pick up the paper, charity. You're a lady of charities. You help people.
Stars in your crown.
Yeah, she is just a lovely lady, and you are right now in the Valley doing a thing for homeless.
Try.
You are the mayor for the homeless. You started this. You are the president of this organization.
Yeah.
You are helping the homeless people in America in the Valley.
Tell us, what are you doing?
Tell us about
what
this.
What kind of places can you get for them?
That's the big problem. We have thousands of homeless people just in the San Fernando Valley, and no facilities. See, the valley's brand new. It sprang up as of and since World War II, and nobody dreamed of hard times.
Who are they, these people? Who are these
They're
people?
everything. They're veterans still haunted by Vietnam. They're deserted wives and mothers. There are whole families living in cars and vans, if they still have them. They're older people who couldn't handle the latest rent hike, who are living on fixed retirement pensions. There are certainly some alcoholics and drug-addicted people, but so many runaway teenagers, so many pregnant youngsters, all kinds. And many of them are just people who were let go during the recession and haven't been able to connect with another job since.
Why aren't they on welfare?
Or if they do you know there are a lot of the working poor who are, they have jobs, but they're so low paying that they can never get ahead enough money to pay the first and last months and the security amounts
that's it.
rent for a new place. So they live in their cars and they shower and clean up at the Y, and where they work, nobody knows they're homeless.
What do they need
what
most?
we're trying to do is to get facilities and services rolling, and now after 2 years of really hanging in there, there are 3 facilities soon to open.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, one will be for the homeless mentally ill, and I didn't mention that.
Tell me about the mentally ill. They are letting them out of the institutions, and they're on the streets.
That's it.
That's
They've
what
been
really in our
doing
country.
that for at least 10 years.
Do you blame our government for doing this? I mean,
It was well-intentioned, Skippy. The thought was that the people in our state institutions were really just being warehoused.
Yes.
They weren't getting the kind of treatment and cure that they deserved, and so they were on sedation, and some of them, you know, there were some pretty bad facilities. And the thought was, let's get them back to their home communities where their families and their friends and familiar places will help the restoring process with community services. The problem was the communities were not funded, they were not prepared, and the families that couldn't afford to take or couldn't hack taking back a mental invalid into their lives left the homeless wandering the streets, the most vulnerable of all the homeless, the prey to gangs and you know, muggers, whatever. But now there's going to be a place in the valley where they can get not only housing but treatment. And
so we are doing something about it.
We're starting, but there's a long way to go. What we have to do is to change people's attitudes. They're so fearful of the unknown. You know, that was the trouble with the civil rights movement. People didn't know people of a different skin color or racial background, and therefore they feared them. Now they're learning there was nothing to fear. But it took laws to force integration of schools and housing and so on. Well, once the residents, the people with homes, realize that the homeless themselves need protection. It isn't the people in neighborhoods who need protection from the homeless, it's the other way around.
Of course.
Then maybe they'll accept them. But these are not criminals. These are people who are victims of their own bad planning or the economy or their emotions. And there they are, up against it and in a kind of state of shock that this could happen to them. And they need understanding. They need a new chance. We house, we feed, we clothe our criminals. Yeah. And we do nothing for our homeless. So it's time we did better than that.
And you started this in the Valley, and so it's called the Valley Mayor's Fund?
It's called the Valley Mayor's Fund.
For homeless.
The communities of the Valley have a lot of honorary mayors. I'm one of them. And I thought maybe if we pull them all together, we could get a sense of this, like a patchwork quilt, all these communities of the Valley under the auspices of the mayors. And it's also the real mayors, Tom Bradley.
And I see you have Steve
Edwards here. Who is the mayor of
Tom is
Los
the
Angeles.
founder. Yeah, he is the mayor.
Oh, that's such great work.
That is wonderful.
It's dogged, it's around the clock, and I had no idea how complex, how sensitive,
you have to go
how
to
much
meetings
resistance.
of citizens?
I live at meetings.
She lives, yes. You and Beverly Garland's in it too, I understand.
Beverly was one of the founding mayors, Actually, there are only 4 honorary mayors on the board.
I see.
But we have the endorsement and encouragement of all the rest.
Yes. I think that's great, Marsha.
And,
that's really
but we are...
There'll be a place for homeless women with children. And that's only a daytime place, but at least there'll be a place where they can take a shower. The first thing they want is to get clean. Because that's part of self-respect. And living, you know, on the grass and under bushes and in doorways and under freeways does not give you much self-respect.
We have a lot of homeless in America, don't we? This country
I think it's millions.
It's millions, yes.
New
York City,
probably.
San Francisco, they're all sleeping in the streets. And, you know,
we need
the richest country in the world.
Precisely.
The richest country in the world. And we help others, but we don't help ourselves.
Well, I don't want to get political. Let's move on to something else.
Rosemary.
I would say what that's the way it is.
Rosemary DeCamp. Rosemary DeCamp. Look at this. This is you and Yankee.
That's one they get out every 4th of July and that cute
I love that with James Cagney and...
I look like some kind of a monolith over there on the wall.
I love it. This is your Dr. Christian?
Oh, yes, yes.
I love that. That's great.
That was fun. I wasn't in the picture, but never mind.
You know, here's Orson Welles.
Yeah, I'm fat and he's skinny,
great?
isn't that
Orson Welles. I love that.
I'm pregnant and he's thin. We were doing a Lux Radio theater. I look like Ethel Merman, don't you think?
Yeah. What kind of guy Orson Welles was? I mean,
very complex and very witty.
He had
funny and kind of a realist, too. Extraordinarily competent and imaginative in what he wanted to do. I really didn't work with him that much. I worked with him in radio. He never chose me for any of his movies.
My husband directed him on a radio show. If anyone can direct Orson Welles, that was Robert's assignment here, and it was through Orson that Robert and I met.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so
how many times have you been married?
We have him
Marsha,
to thank. Pardon me?
How many times have you been married?
Once before.
Once before. And you, Rosemary?
Just once, 45 years.
45 years. How many children do you have?
4.
You have 4 children. Are they in the business, any of them?
2 of them worked in it, and then they lost interest and went into other things. I was happy that they did. Because I don't think, what do you think?
Your father.
Very harrowing profession.
Tell me about your father, Marsha Hunt.
Your
father? Yes.
He was the most gentle man I ever knew. He was a lawyer. He was a brilliant scholar. He went into law and then the legal branch of insurance. And then ultimately, because this new phenomenon, Social Security, that came into our land, needed a knowledge of law and insurance. So my father was offered New York City, which was the plum of the nation, and he turned it down for Los Angeles to be near me, because I was still a minor, just started at Paramount in pictures, so that the family could be together. So he managed the LA office and then created the Hollywood office of Social Security.
He started the Social Security.
And he led that. He went on radio a great deal, explaining it to people, because it was a new, wonderful thing.
I would like to know one thing about Robert Young. Tell me about Robert Young. Love Robert Young.
I don't know that there's anything to tell that people don't already either know or sense about Bob. He's a highly intelligent, giving, caring, gifted man. And we did a picture, in the 40s called Joe Smith American, and then I did one of his TV shows.
That was in 1942.
Could have been. I don't know which of the 40 years. It was during the war.
You were doing films in the 30s and the 40s.
I started 50 years ago. How's that?
50 years ago.
Imagine.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Doesn't feel like 50.
But one of my favorite movies you did was with Brandon DeWitt and Carol Lindley, Blue Denim.
Blue Denim.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You were just
It's a good
you were
play.
the mother in that.
I was the somewhat flighty but caring mother. And that was a rather brave film for the 50s because
it was.
had to do with the
1959.
the pregnant teenager.
Tell me about that, those days. I mean,
Well, it was considered pretty brave to make that film and to deal with, 16-year-old pregnancy, and Brandon, the father, and what the film resolved with their deciding to have the child, but abortion was certainly mentioned and was considered, but it was unthinkable.
yes.
Now, abortion is very much considered as the way to prevent a child from having to bear a child, and to get on with her education and discovering who she is and planning her family,
Yes.
which is far better way.
Brandon DeWitt, he was a good actor. It's a shame that he just what happened.
I forget what killed Brandon. Was it an accident, an illness?
Yes, he had a car accident.
He was so dear that I wrote a poem when he had a birthday while we were shooting, and I remember, by the way, he had a different pronunciation. It was DeWilde.
DeWilde.
Brandon
DeWilde,
DeWilde
exactly.
certainly filled a need I had for a teenage lad, but it goes on and on with many, many verses about being his temporary mother.
I see.
He was a darling. He and Carol had a...
Carol Lindley. I had
Carol
her on the show.
Lindley.
Yes. Had her on the show.
Had a short romance. They used to come over
She
and
told
play
me.
tennis.
Yeah, she told me, yeah.
They're darlings.
Yeah. I understand you were in hotels. You just did a hotel thing?
I was on hotel last year.
Last year?
Yes,
Are you busy now, doing things now, Rosemary? Are you up for anything?
Well, the hardest work of all, Skip, is at home. And I have a big house and a big family, and I work hard at home.
Do you live in
I
Hollywood
also do
area?
a lot of copper
In this
enameling.
area?
That's my out.
Copper
Yes.
enameling.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I've done it for years, and it's quite an escape for me. Also, I write.
Yes.
You
do-
write all the time.
Children's books. She wrote a child's book. I love it. Tell me a name of
that.
the children's book.
Well, the dull title. They picked the title, you know. It's called Here Duke. Dull, you know. But it was a dog we got at the pound. And
That's
how
it.
He,
Can I show?
how he
There's the picture.
never got over being hungry.
Beautiful. I love it.
Oh, well.
I love it, Rosemary. So
But I love pets and love... Get a lot of... We have one now that's extraordinary. We have to spell in front of her.
Oh, understands too well.
Yes, you know, you have to say W-A-L-K and get the L-E-A-S-H.
Oh.
Probably teach you to spell.
She's
It's that bright.
She worked in pictures, I think, because she responds to hand signals
Really?
and has been debarked. Can't bark.
Really?
And I think they do that sometimes. Is that right?
I didn't know.
I think so.
Two great ladies, tell me something. Directors in Hollywood, your favorite directors. What's most fun you had with people you worked with on the sets? Your directors, tell me.
I never loved a director more than Fred Zinnemann,
Really?
in
Oh,
whose
great,
first feature
great.
picture I was. They just celebrated his tremendous, singular career. I think he may be the most gifted, caring director I ever came across. And the other favorite was Jules Dassin, who went on to France to do all those wonderful things with Melina Mercouri and
Wonderful,
so on.
yes.
But Julie and I did 2 comedies at MGM, and then Julie directed the first play I did on Broadway, and I felt safe doing it because I was in his hands.
How long were you at MGM? How many years?
Well, it spanned 7 years,
7.
but I was under contract about 6, I think
6.
it was, yeah.
Rosemary, Warner Brothers, those days.
Oh, I
Your favorite
love
directors.
Dave Butler,
Tell me.
Mike Curtiz, and at Paramount, Mitch Leisen.
Oh,
And
oh.
that darling
That was
man.
a
Hollywood has
favorite.
changed nowadays, hasn't
Yes,
it?
I think the trouble is it doesn't come out of one mind or even 2 or 3 minds now. It comes out of a whole lot of committee.
Too many.
Everything's made up by a committee.
too many?
Dromedaries.
You mean it was
know.
used to be out of one mind in Hollywood? too?
Well, the great ones,
No,
the good
yes.
ones, came
It
out
was-
of 2 or 3, isn't it right?
Yes, I
Go ahead.
agree, but it came out of knowing minds, and now we have I think, children. Making pictures for children.
Yes.
And it would be nice to restore it to the grown-ups.
Yeah. The
That's
cartoons, you know.
That's what Hollywood's gone to.
The people are cartoons.
Yeah.
And
But it's
the
always...
directors don't know what they're doing.
I was a young child. I was a young child watching movies, and I always wanted to watch actresses, older actresses, good stories. And I was only 12. But what happened?
Well, then you're different.
It's not different. It's my era has changed. It's just, I used to go to movies and I wanted to see King's Row at 12 years old. Now, what happened?
Cartoons are coming.